There are thousands of habits people talk about online, whether it's reading 100 books a year, waking up early, cold showers, journaling, investing, but not all habits are created equal. Some actually can change your life while others just sound cool to do. So today we're going to break down the list that I compiled of the best habits for your finances, your mindset, and just your overall life. The ones that actually matter versus the ones that are more hype than helpful. So let's get into it. The first habit here is continuous learning. This is the habit of learning every single day. This is what separates a lot of people who stay stagnant from the people who actually grow. And you don't have to be in school or chasing degrees to learn every single day. It's more so about curiosity, whether it's new topics you're interested in, your finances, your personal life, whatever it might be. So this can be in the form of books, podcasts, online courses, or just conversations with people who have done it before you, like a mentor. It all adds up over time. So the more you learn, the more valuable you become as a person. And the best part is learning compounds just like money does. You start connecting dots faster and making smarter decisions naturally. So for the first one of continuous learning, I'm going to put continuous learning in the S tier as a life-changing habit. Next is going to be the habit of cooking at home. I think cooking at home is probably one of the best things you can do, not only to get your health in track, but also to get your finances in track. It's no secret that eating out has become extremely expensive. DoorDash is extremely expensive, and if you can learn to get on a meal plan, eat at home, not only are you going to feel better, but your finances are going to take less of a hit at the same time. So I think cooking at home, whether it comes to your lifestyle or your finances, is just a solid habit to have. Next is limiting screen time. So cutting screen time can be a huge help, especially if you're trying to stay focused. But it goes both ways. It's what you replace that time with that actually matters. So if you decide to delete social media, but then you're just going to scroll and sit there on YouTube, nothing really changes. So it's about intentional use of your screen time and not really total avoidance. So I think if you are on the screen a lot, whether it's for work, a side hustle, content creation, I think those are good things to be on a screen for. But if you're just on the screen kind of doom scrolling away, then I think it's bad things. Either good or bad, in general, I think it is good practice to limit your screen time, or at least schedule certain parts of the day where you're not involved on the screen. So I think with that being said, limiting screen time is a solid habit to have because let's be honest, so much of our lives now are wrapped around being on the screen of some sort of way. So I think getting away from that and being able to just kind of de-stress and get away from that would be a really good habit to have. Next is constantly switching goals. This is probably one of the worst habits that most people don't realize they have, which is starting something new every few weeks, right? You're always excited but never consistent about what goals you might have. And that's where the motivation versus discipline argument comes in. You can always be motivated to have new goals, but until you stay disciplined to one of them, you're probably never going to see the fruits of your labor. So you might change direction before anything actually has time to grow, and that's what's going to kill momentum. And as most of you guys know, success takes a lot of time. So this habit of constantly switching goals can actually keep you in the starting phase forever. So this is an F tier habit to have. It's always good to have multiple goals and it's always good to pivot where needed. But if you're just starting one goal and then ending it because it's not happening soon enough and then starting another goal because you aren't seeing progress, you're never actually going to make it out of that starting phase. Next is going to be the habit of mindful spending. Now, this habit completely changes your relationship with money. Mindful spending, if you're not sure what it is, it's basically asking yourself, does this purchase actually benefit me? Does it make my life better? Does it fix a problem at hand? When you start spending your money intentionally and not emotionally, you realize most things don't really add much value to your life. So a good example of this could be like designer clothing, right? If you purchase that designer clothing, before you make the purchase, if you ask yourself, is this going to make my life better? Odds are probably not. You might emotionally think so. Truthfully, probably not. That money could go towards something else like investing or whatever it might be, or a side hustle. So you spend less, you save more, and you actually feel better about where your money goes because every purchase becomes a choice and not a certain reaction. So I think mindful spending is a great way to also start working on getting control of your finances if you're not already. And that, for that reason, I'm going to put mindful spending as a momentum building habit. I think it's a great thing to start, especially if you have a little bit of a spending issue and you want to get intentional with your money. Next is the habit of consistent investing. And most people really overthink investing. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect stock, the perfect income level. But the secret to investing and having a massive portfolio is just consistency. Investing a set amount every month, every week, or every day, even when it feels small, builds habits that compound over time, builds wealth that compounds over time. And when you invest automatically, it becomes a normal part of your routine, not some big stressful decision that you have to debate every week. And you're basically teaching your money to grow quietly in the background while you have the opportunity to focus on life, work, your kids, whatever it might be. So consistency in the market is always going to beat timing the market every single time. And for that reason, consistent investing is an easy life-changing habit, especially if you can start at an early age, preferably in your early 20s. I mean, you'll no matter what, you're going to be a millionaire at some point in life if you're able to stick to consistent investing. The next habit is extreme productivity systems. So what I mean by this are like multiple apps, multiple journals, this, and this. This, in my opinion, is not real progress. This is the trap of you feel productive instead of actually being productive. So, people spend hours color coding planners, creating Notion dashboards, watching YouTube videos, downloading 6 different apps, paying for subscriptions, but then you probably usually never end up using them. And now I get it. If you have 1 or 2 solid apps that you like to use, or like how I have one solid journal that I like to use, I think that stuff works really well. But when you get caught in the marketing scheme of productivity where you have 5 different apps for this and you have 3 different wake up apps and you have 2 different journals, I think it becomes a little bit much, and it gets to a certain point where you're almost acting like being productive, but you're not actually making any real progress. And like I said, productivity systems are valuable only if they help you do more, not just organize more. So for this reason, I'm going to put extreme productivity systems in the F tier. Once again, I think 1 or 2 apps, 1 or 2 journals is fine, but it becomes a little bit much. And when it gets to a little bit much, I think you're not really making real progress at that point. The next habit is reading 100 books every single year. You'll hear people say, if you can read 100 books a year, or you can read 10 pages a day. I think reading's great. I've read my fair share of books, but most people read to feel productive instead of actually applying what they learn, right? And you don't need to read 100 books. In my opinion, if you read 100 books and barely apply anything you learn, or you read 1 to 2 really solid books and you actually apply those fundamentals to your life, you're going to notice a huge difference versus reading 100 and not really acting on them versus reading 1 or 2 and fully acting on them. And, knowledge only matters when it turns into action for you. So reading anything without applying it is pretty much just entertainment. And also, we have so many different forms of being able to digest content now, whether it's YouTube, social media, whatever it might be. For example, there's a lot of great books on investing. I find it way easier to learn about investing when I actually watch someone do it on YouTube versus reading a book. So once again, reading books are great, but I would recommend don't fall into the hype of having to read 100 books a year to be successful. Find one good book that a lot of people like, read it once, and apply it to your life. You'll notice way more of a difference. So with that being said, reading 100 books a year, this is definitely something that's overhyped in today's society, and definitely I don't think makes you as productive as you could be. Next is the habit of delayed gratification. This is basically being able to wait, whether it's saving instead of spending, building instead of, flexing your money early. Delayed gratification creates stability, especially in your finances. Most people blow progress chasing short-term dopamine, short-term wins. But when you train yourself to wait, to let something grow before you touch it, before you spend it, whatever it might be, you start playing a completely different game, and that's how you win in the long term. For example, the reason I have a picture of a watch, I'm really into watches. I could buy a watch I really want right now, but I have no reason to do so. There's no reason for me to spend my money right now on a watch. I would be much better off investing that money, using that money towards a side hustle, or just saving that money versus going out and spending money on a really nice watch. So for that being said, if you can practice and implement delayed gratification, I think this is a life-changing habit, not only for yourself personally, but also for your finances. So I think a really solid habit that's out there that gets slept on a lot is planning your week ahead. I think it's a very underrated habit because if you can spend 10 to 15 minutes on a Sunday planning your week, it prevents 100 little moments of stress later because you have your whole week planned out in front of you. Now, obviously, when you plan your week ahead, you always need to be flexible with your plan. It's not always going to go exactly how you planned it. But when you stop, waking up and asking yourself, okay, what should I do today? What do I need to get done today? And you start moving with intention, it's that small habit that's going to give you, weekly structure and keep you from drifting. And once again, if something comes up, you can edit your week. But having a quick high-level overview of what you need to get done that week is a super smart thing to do and a super great habit to build and have. So I think this is an easy momentum builder. Once again, if you can use this in the right way, be flexible with it. It at least gives you some type of vision for how your week should go, and that's going to reduce stress, it's going to reduce anxiety, and it's going to put you on the right path for the week. Next is the habit of taking cold showers daily. Now, I get cold showers, they're going to build your mental toughness, right? It's basically putting yourself in a really uncomfortable situation and training your mindset to be happy with the uncomfortable situation. Health benefits that come with taking a cold shower. I try taking cold showers, but I'll be honest, at the end of the day, I don't know if you guys are always taking cold showers. It's just not something I can really get behind. I think if you're taking cold showers but your finances are a mess, you're probably focusing your attention to the wrong thing. And I get it, I've listened to my fair share of David Goggins, and then all I want to do is hop in a cold shower and run 15 miles. But I've never stuck to it because I don't really feel the true benefits of it. So I think taking cold showers, I just think they're overhyped. I don't know about you guys, if you guys have ever tried to do it before, but after the first 3 days of taking a cold shower, I'm kind of over it and I haven't really seen any progress, and maybe that's me giving up on it too early. But I think cold showers are definitely overhyped in today's society. Next habit is having a routine. And now this is not necessarily about having that perfect 5 a.m. routine where you wake up and you align with your inner chakra and you do a meditation. It's not necessarily that extreme. Having a routine can be a very simple thing. It could be something, 2 things you do every morning that give your life structure, right? It doesn't have to be this crazy whole planned out routine that you do. And, once again, it makes your life perfect. It can be just about having small little systems that keep you consistent. So, for example, like a solid morning or evening routine, it can make it easier to stay disciplined because once you've built that rhythm through your routine, you can stick to your routine. Well, then you feel more, in charge of your day. You feel more productive. So I think routine is having some type of routine is definitely a solid habit. Once again, especially if you can keep it really simple and easy to replicate. As long as it's simple and easy to replicate and you can stick to it, I definitely think having some type of routine is a really solid habit to have. Next is going to be the habit of tracking your money. Now, I love this saying when it comes to money. You can't manage what you don't measure, right? Tracking your money doesn't mean obsessing about every cent. It doesn't mean putting yourself on a tight budget. It doesn't mean not enjoying your life anymore. All it means is just being aware to where your money is going. Knowing exactly where your money is going is like turning on the lights in a messy room, right? You're not going to be able to clean a messy room if you don't even have the lights on. You can't see where anything is. So you start catching waste. You start spotting patterns. You might realize that you're paying for a subscription that you've been paying for 3 years now. You don't use it anymore, and you realize it. You might notice that on the weekends, maybe you overspend just a little too much. And realizing how those small changes add up is the really big winner here. So once you're on track and you see what's going on, that's when you can actually steer your finances instead of just reacting to them. So I think tracking your money, whether it's a net worth tracker, Whether it's a budget tracker, whether it's an expense tracker, whether it's all three of them, you can just start with a simple one. I think it's a great momentum builder, especially when it comes to staying on top of your finances and really getting control of your financial future. Getting in the habit of having daily affirmations. Now, I kind of fall maybe in the minority here. I don't think daily affirmations are as helpful as people make them out to be. I definitely think, having positive self-talk is great, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like reading the books. If you have daily affirmations and you don't apply what you affirm yourself to your life, or you don't really notice it making a big change, I don't think that's potentially the best thing for you. I think you're better off spending your productivity resources towards something else. Whereas, once again, I think if you can sit there and you can tell yourself, I'm going to do this today, or I'm going to be a winner today, I think that can definitely pay off because you get yourself in the right mindset. But once again, the majority of people who have daily affirmations, are they actually going by what they say? Are they actually applying those daily affirmations to their life? Are they actually seeing some type of change? So with that being said, I actually think daily affirmations are a little overhyped, once again, especially in the society we live in today. While I do think it's always good to practice self-talk, positive self-talk, it's always good to look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that you're going to be a winner. At the end of the day, though, I feel like the majority of people who practice daily affirmations just want to tell themselves that they practice daily affirmations. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if you guys are getting what I'm saying, but I definitely think daily affirmations are a little overhyped. So the next habit is decluttering. Now, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when life's feeling a little stressful, when I feel like I have a lot going on, if I clean my room or clean something or just declutter, instantly I feel 10 times better. So for example, I record at my desk. Sometimes my desk gets a little messy. I got papers everywhere. I got my keys, my wallet. I got my headphones, hats, whatever it might be, cups. At the end of the day, if I feel a little overstressed, if I declutter my whole desk, I clean everything, I put everything back where it should go, I instantly feel better, right? And obviously it's not some magic solution. You're not just going to declutter and then you're instantly going to make $100,000 a year or be a super productive person. But it's just about removing distractions, right? Clearing your space, physical, mental, and a clean space, like I said, it's not going to fix your life, but it will help you think more clearly, especially while you fix it. So I think decluttering every once in a while is definitely a solid habit to have, because I know in my personal life, when I declutter my desk or my room, I instantly feel like 10 times better. Next is do what you say you'll actually do. This one does not get talked about enough. When you consistently do what you say you'll do, even on small things, you build trust with not only yourself, but with other people, and that's huge. So if you keep breaking promises to yourself, you're going to lose your confidence. You're going to start believing you can't follow through. But when you start doing what you say, waking up when you said you would, working out when you say you would, finishing the project you say you'd finish, that self-trust changes everything, especially in the workplace. If you tell your coworkers you're going to do this for them, or you're going to do that for them, or you tell your manager you're going to complete this at this, on this time, people are going to start to trust you. And not only that, they're going to start to respect you. Opportunities will start to find you if you can do this, right? Another word for this is just having integrity, right? Doing what you say you do is just having integrity. And that quietly is going to turn you into someone that not only you can depend on, but others can depend on. And I think, obviously, if you have the right mindset and you're doing what you say you'll do in a positive way, I think this is a life-changing habit to have. I think having, integrity, especially the utmost integrity, is something everyone should work on having. And I think this can really propel you forward in life. The next one is hustle culture. Now, I definitely think to some people, the 24/7 grind mentality, the mindset, it sounds inspiring, right? Like you can get behind it for a little bit, but realistically, it's kind of all just burnout disguised as like ambition, right? Working nonstop might look productive, but over time, it's not worth it. No one wants to do this, and I get it, people say they have hustle culture and they flex the cars they're with. 90% of the time, those cars are rented. 90% of the time, the watches are rented. People who have the persona of hustle culture usually don't. They're renting everything. They're promoting hustle culture, so you buy a course from them. That's usually how it goes. So I think hustle culture is definitely more of like a scam. If anything, this is just not real progress. I think people who are extremely productive in real life, who are extremely successful in real life and happy, don't have hustle culture. I don't think it really does much for most people. I don't think it's a habit you should focus on. If you are focusing on hustle culture, I think if you focus on any of the B tier through S tier habits over this, you're going to start seeing a way bigger spike in not only your happiness, but your success and everything else to come. Next is the habit of journaling. Now, I'll be honest, until like a month ago, I would have probably put this in the overhyped category, but I've actually been trying to journal more and I actually really like it. So, I always thought journaling was about like writing perfect entries or being poetic with your life, but literally it can be as simple as just writing down something that happened today with messy handwriting, right? It's just about clearing your mind and putting stuff down that has happened on paper. And it really helps you understand patterns and just get everything in your head onto a piece of paper. Helps, once again, like in the solid habits, helps declutter everything. And sometimes you don't even realize what's stressing you out until you actually sit down and write it down on a piece of paper. Other times you'll look back and you'll see, man, I can't believe I was stressing about that today. I'm not going to let that stress me out in the future. So it's not about, the notebook. It's about getting honest with yourself. And, journaling can definitely be a form of like therapy for free, especially if you stick to it and you stay consistent with it. So I actually think journaling is a solid habit. Once again, it's not something I haven't done. It's really something I haven't done often, but the more I do it, the more I actually end up liking it. Next is living below your means. And this is the foundation for financial freedom. Living below your means, it doesn't mean being cheap. It just means being intentional, kind of like the mindful spending. The mindful spending is a great momentum builder into living below your means. And, all it does, a lot of people overcomplicate, like, what does living below your means mean? It's really simple. In its most simple form, living below your means is just spending less than you make. And that sounds really simple and easy to do, but a lot of people mess this up. A lot of people spend more than they actually make on a weekly basis. And, when you master this, you stop feeling lifestyle inflation. You stop needing to flex and you start building margin. You get that breathing room that lets you invest, that lets you save, and lets you say yes to things you actually care about, like vacations and different life experiences. And living below your means, a lot of people can't stick to this is because it's not glamorous, but it is the first habit that gives you real freedom when it comes to your finances. So with that being said, living below your means is an easy S tier life-changing habit, especially when it comes to your finances. Next is the habit of long-term thinking. This is a great habit to have as well. I read a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Once again, talking about books, this is a book that I've actually tried to apply what I learned. And one of the habits is begin with the end in mind. And basically what he talks about is before you do anything, whether it's something you're going to do on the short term, something you're going to do on the long term, begin with the end in mind. So think about, okay, if I carry out this act, whether it's good or bad, what is this going to do for my life in the next 5 years? If I take this job, good or bad, what is it going to do for myself in the next 10 years? If I start investing today, what is it going to do for me in 10 years? So if you begin anything you do in life with the end goal in mind, you will change 10 of your habits. You'll literally become a different person because you'll start thinking of, okay, for example, I'm going to go out drinking this weekend versus studying for an exam. Begin with the end in mind. The drinking at that point becomes one of the worst things you can do, where studying becomes one of the best things you can do. And you can do this for every single situation in your life. So long-term thinking, just beginning with the end in mind, is also a life-changing habit as well. It's probably one of the best things you can do for yourself. So this right here is something I always try to practice, and it's something I think you guys would definitely get benefits from if you tried to practice it as well. Next is micro challenges. And this is kind of like the cold shower thing where, micro challenges, I feel like we're in this challenge fatigue era where like there's so many different challenges you can go online and see people doing when it comes to like their finances or their habits. And it's like, okay, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. every day for the next 30 days. I'm going to do, and then they stack it with, on top of that, I'm going to take a cold shower. And then they stack it with meditation. And then they stack it with reading a book. Then they stack it with daily affirmations. And I know some of the stuff's on here, but it gets to the point where you kind of stack all these micro challenges and you see these people like, you can only be productive if you do this, and this. It gets to the point where it's kind of like too much. So I think micro challenges, once again, when I made the best skills tier list, I had someone comment and say, there's so many skills on this tier list. How am I supposed to do this? And that's a great point. While there's so many habits on this tier list, my recommendation to you is pick one or two. I have like 20 habits on here. Pick one or two you really like. You don't have to start cooking at home, limiting screen time, follow a routine, decluttering, and journaling all tomorrow. If you know you have a really bad spending issue and you get kind of cluttered throughout your week, maybe just pick mindful spending and planning your week ahead, and those will be the two habits you work on. So I think having these like ultra micro challenges and just combining too many things at once, it can sound like you're being very productive, but I don't think you are. I think it's just not real progress at that point. Until you find one or two, it's almost like the reading 100 books, where it's like, if you find one or two habits you really like, stick to those, build those up, then focus on other ones. Don't worry about what other people are doing online where they're combining these productivity hacks with these habit hacks and they're being like Superman. Realistically, not everyone's going to have time to do that. So don't worry about micro challenges that you see online. Next is the habit of not giving up too early. And this one's personal for a lot of people because, we live in a time where if something doesn't blow up or make you extremely successful in like a month to 2 months, we usually end up quitting. But most real results, especially in like business, fitness, relationships, takes years to really come into fruition. And this habit is more so about patience, right? About giving things time to breathe, to grow before deciding, oh, that didn't work for me. But, most people are 4 feet from gold when they walk away. It's the ones who stick around long enough to see progress are the ones who win. For example, this can be something like a YouTube channel, like my YouTube channel, right? A lot of people quit content creation, quit social media way too early when, there's people who've been making YouTube videos for years before they actually blow up. So you gotta give stuff time to really come into its own. Now, while I do think for some people this can be life-changing, obviously there is some things that it is time to probably take a step away from. So you have to learn to balance and to really understand which is which. So I think this is a great momentum builder for your finances, for your health, for your relationships. Stop giving up too early. Let things really play out before you decide whether it's worth it or not to keep going. Next is the self-help loop. And this one is big, right? Reading, consuming, endless self-help improvement content, right? I was definitely one of those people where I've probably read over, I'd say 5, I know it's not a big number, but I've read probably over 5 different self-help books. I've watched hours of self-help podcasts and content. And not because I'm, a depressed person. It's more so I like to have insight on to be the best person I can be. But at some point, you don't need any more information. You need implementation. Like, at some point, you need to stop consuming all the self-help stuff and just apply it to your life. Because realistically, you can get stuck in this loop where you're reading books on self-help, you're watching videos, but you're not actually applying any of it to your life. So until you apply that one book or that one podcast that really spoke to you, the self-help loop is just not real progress. It seems like progress because you're consuming, but once again, it's more so a consumption issue because it gets to the point where you actually need to apply what you're learning to your actual life. The next habit is taking care of your health. You can't build a good life. You can't enjoy, the finances that you'll have one day, the success you'll have one day if you don't take care of your body. Whether it's sleep, movement, decent food, whatever it might be. Everything affects your body. Energy, mood, focus, confidence, literally everything. And when your health is off, everything else feels harder. But when you move your body regularly and eat like you actually care about yourself, you feel sharper, more capable, more energetic, and that type of feeling for your body is going to make everything else easier, whether it comes to your work, your finances, your side hustles, whatever it might be. And realistically, no one would want to be a millionaire if you had terrible health. If you gave me the option to switch places with someone who is a millionaire but on their deathbed versus me right now, I'm never going to take that deal because I want to take care of my body now so I can one day get to where I need to be. So taking care of your health is obviously super important. It's something every single person needs to do in their life, because once again, without good health, you're not going to get anywhere in life and nothing's going to be enjoyable. So taking care of your health is easily life-changing, probably the biggest life-changing habit on here. If you could do any one of these, it'd be having good health. But yeah, it's something we all need to focus on it and do good with. And the last one is waking up at 5 a.m. Now, from what I've said about some of these other ones, you probably know where I'm going to put this now. But once again, waking up early, it can definitely be powerful, right? If you have a lot to do and you can wake up at 5 a.m. and not be tired or not instantly get on your phone and start scrolling, you can actually be really, really productive that day. But like a lot of these, it only pays off if you're using it for the right reason. So if you wake up at 5 a.m. but you don't do anything productive, there's kind of no point. But if you wake up at 5 a.m., you start working on your side hustle, you start filming a YouTube video, start working on your content creation, you start work early, whatever it might be, well, then it makes a huge difference in your life. So it's kind of how you implement it into your life. I'll be honest, for me and how I live, I think waking up at 5 a.m. is definitely overhyped now. I think there's just a lot of things that people promote online, like you're not going to ever be successful if you don't wake up at 5 a.m. or the 3:30 a.m. Routine that changed my life. Once again, I think for a lot of people, this stuff really isn't realistic. While yes, it can definitely benefit you and it can help you get, your days on track, I think for the majority of people, if you wake up at a normal time, 7 or 8 a.m., and you just are productive, I think you'll be fine in life. You'll have no problems versus waking up at 5 a.m., being super productive. I don't see a huge difference in my opinion, but let me know if I'm wrong. So those are my rankings for the best habits when it comes to money, life, and mindset. Some of them are pretty unglamorous, right? Living below your means, tracking your money, letting things, work out and be patient. But those are the ones that actually make a huge difference in your life. The flashy habits, those are the ones that get views online, but the quiet ones are the ones that are actually going to build you up in life. And the truth is, your habits are just like compound interest. You won't notice the payoff right away. You're not going to notice it in the first day. You're probably not going to notice it within the first week. But over time, they're going to completely reshape you as a person and your future. So if you guys got any good value from this video, I'd appreciate a subscription and a like. Let me know what habits I missed. Also, let me know if you disagree with some of the things that I said and where you would put certain habits. Other than that, thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya.